G'day and welcome to the Grow a Small Business Podcast. I'm your host, Troy Trewin. Each week, we speak with an owner who has grown a business with 5 to 30 team members to something bigger. Diving into their numbers and unearthing the pain they've experienced, we explore what they did to overcome each barrier and what they would do differently from day one. Let's get into it. Welcome everyone. Today I'm interviewing Julie B from Julie B Consulting, and she's also an author based in Charlotte, North Carolina in the US. So thanks for your time today, Julie.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Troy. Looking forward to it.
Let's start with how we know each other. You reached out through our website a few months ago, and I was really intrigued by the book that you've written called Burned. Maybe tell the audience a bit about that. We'll link through to it in the show notes.
Yeah, I mean, it's basically the business owner's guide to burnout. That was the original title of it when I started writing it, and it's from recognizing it all the way through prevention and then going on to leverage the burnouts that you have into more success and just more well-being. That's just the whole thing, and it's all written for business owners specifically.
Yeah, a pertinent topic, I think, because I think most of our audience will have experienced burnout at some point.
Hmm.
For those starting out, strap in because I'm sure you will.
Yeah. Yeah, I tell people who are thinking about becoming entrepreneurs to read it too, so they know what to look out for and just what to be prepared for.
Tell our audience a bit about your business, what it does and how it makes money.
Yeah, so my business is I'm a speaker, author, and consultant, and I do a lot of consulting in the financial kind of a fractional CFO, fractional COO role. Like get the CFO side of stuff from my accounting background, and then the COO is something I earned over running a business for 15 years and then exiting and selling it last year. So that's really what I consult on, those two things for business owners that are usually they're doing between like 4 and 25 million. That's kind of the range that I'm working in right now. And a lot of the times they need expertise that they're not ready to hire full time yet. So that's where I come in and work. So that's how I make money. And then I just actually got my first royalty check from my publisher. So that's exciting to be an author and getting that started now. And then I also get paid for doing speaking engagements. So that's kind of how my business is structured these days.
How did you start out?
Oh man, that's a question. Long story short, I went to college, got a couple of degrees in accounting, and decided public accounting wasn't for me. And I just kept getting drawn to business over and over again. So I worked in worked for small businesses for a while. And then I started a digital marketing agency in '08. I lost my job. And then I started a digital marketing agency in 2008, pared that down to a social media marketing agency in 2011, and that was when we really experienced a lot of growth when we niched down to just doing social media. And then I did that until last year I sold and exited the business. And I have a lot of experience, a lot of education, and my passion is business. I love business and I really love working with business owners. And I just thought I could package all of that up and get out there and help the business owners who, need help. So I do that in all those ways I mentioned before.
So you started the first business 2008. How old were you
Mhm.
then?
28.
28.
Hmm.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you have any key numbers you can share to illustrate the growth of the business?
Yeah, I mean, it was a rough first few years. I think, obviously starting in '08, that was not a great time to
Hmm.
start a business. But we grew to, I got up to about 15 full-time equivalent employees. And, that is managing and leading people is something I don't think very many business owners are prepared for. And that's often what I see these today when I go into work for companies. And then we were doing, very high seven figure or six figure, hit seven figures one year, and I just quite frankly, I got burned out on social media as an industry, and my team was burning out as well. And I exited. I had an exit strategy, and I had to kick that into play about 7 years before I was planning to. But it was the right move for me. I needed to get out of the industry, and so I was able to do that last year. And I mean, the exit took a few years to do, so that was there was a lot of time in there where I was, growing it and then planning to exit, and then all of a sudden needing to exit. So, but I'm proud of what I built and I'm proud of how everything landed. And, everybody who worked there went on to, they all got a job doing something else they love. And um, yeah, I mean, it worked out the way that it was meant to work out. And I'm really glad to be doing what I'm doing today.
And yeah, it sounds like you've got a real passion for the CFO, fractional CFO, COO role now.
Yeah, yeah, I do. I really love, I don't think there's any better way to understand a business than understanding the numbers of the business. I work with a lot of real estate companies, with a lot of like developers and real estate investment companies, and they really have to be on top of their numbers for a lot of reasons. And it's just really, it's fun to be able to manage by the numbers and also educate. A lot of what I do is educating. Sometimes it's the leadership team, sometimes it's, the operations, other people in the organization about making sound business decisions based on finances. Not every decision can be led by numbers, but most of them can be or should be. And that's how I really get into a business and help turn things around or, help them grow, help them go from 4 to 8 million. I mean, you don't grow that much without having your arms around the numbers that you have and really having solid financial plans.
You're getting ready for exit. Did you read any of John Warrillow's awesome three books or listen to his weekly podcast, Built to Sell Radio?
I didn't know. I mean, exiting was it was a rough time. Like it was a painful experience and I did it before I was ready. And I think the one thing I learned, the one piece of advice that I would give anybody is always like you always want to build your business like you're going to sell it as one asset, but don't put other options off the table because I ended up getting out of it in a very kind of unorthodox way. And I needed to get out of it for my own health and my own like sanity. It was just the industry of social media had just turned into it just turned into something that I was not aligned with, and that was way I just couldn't do it anymore. Um, so when I tell people what I did, I broke it down for parts and sold pieces and parts of the business because none of my employees at that point wanted to go work for somebody else. So I didn't, I went through this whole thing where I realized I didn't have a sellable asset like as one thing. So I had to, break things off into pieces and parts to exit. And that's exactly what I did.
When was the moment you felt like you had succeeded?
Honestly, with the exit this year, like last month when it was 1 year after leaving the business, I think that after closing it up, wrapping it up and exiting, uh I felt like, I really had carved out a place in the market and I just I could have put more into it, but the thing is that I had gotten my book deal and with my publisher, and I just knew that there was more that I was supposed to do beyond social media. So it was just time for me to get out. And I really felt that it was October 1st because last year the September 30th was the official, close date. So October 1st of this year, I thought, man, it's been a year since those transactions closed and all of that happened. And now I can look back on it with admiration and respect. But this time last year I was not in that headspace. So it took about a year for me to feel successful from that.
What does success look like to you?
I Success is laughing with my wife every day. Um, Success is having the flexibility to do things like offer your best friend who's struggling and you can't go and see her because she lives in Rochester and schedules and kids and all of that don't line up, but you can offer to sit with her on a Zoom while she's struggling through something. Like being able to be there for the people that you love, I think is the pinnacle of success in my book.
Number one thing you'd recommend to marketing a fast growing business?
How you deliver your product or service, you've got to have all of your operations and or all of your SOPs, your processes and all of that in place and documented, like all of them. That
Yeah.
would be if you don't have that, get that done because you won't be able to grow much further without it.
Yeah. SOPs for the audience,
Hmm.
standard operating procedures. Big fan.
Yeah.
How did you fund your business?
Bootstrapped it, self-funded, both of them.
Yep. And no other investors in the first. No. Right. If you were to start up today with plenty of funding, would you go into your industry?
I'd probably not. No, I would probably go into, well, I would still write books. Yeah, that would absolutely be something that I would do, but I would probably do something in the healthcare or real estate industries.
Can you outline the most stressful point in your small business growth journey so our audience can learn from it?
Exiting one business without a plan for the next.
Yeah.
So, I got my book deal and I exited a business and I thought I'll do coaching. I'll be a coach. And that has not been the path that I've taken. And it's taken me a while to figure it out, but I'm just not wired that way. I'm wired very much so as a consultant. And I think it's taken me about a year and a half to figure all of that out. So it's been a stressful time. I feel like I'm hitting a stride now, but have a plan for if you're closing a chapter, try to have a plan for the next chapter, or at least an idea of what you're going to do.
What area in business do you feel you've had to work on the most to add the greatest value?
Leadership. So that's like my own self-leadership and then teaching others to be leaders. That's been the hardest thing to do, but has always, at least from my perspective, adds the most value to the business.
Yeah, I totally agree. As I like to say, people are the hardest thing in small business and its greatest asset. And a lot of small business owners and their managers just don't do enough training. Well, there's not a lot of great material out there anyway, but which is why we put our business transformation program together to help small business owners become better leaders and managers. So I think it's really needed.
It's a different ballgame when you are the top. When you are the CEO and you don't have anyone above you, even if you don't have, I mean, CEOs who have boards still have boards they can go to. When you're a small business owner, usually you don't have a board of directors. Um, you gotta have somebody who's going to show you the way, or at least be aware enough to know you need to figure out the way to be a good leader.
What have you enjoyed the least about managing fast growth?
Man, cash flow. Cash flow is crazy to manage. I'm lucky I'm good at it. Like I'm good at doing it for myself and I'm good at cash flow for others, but man, getting your terms together and your knowing your collections, just like the collection side of things, if you need to, if you got payroll going out, but and you're expecting a $10,000 check to come in, but that $10,000 check doesn't come in, that impacts, or that 50, whatever it is, 50,000, whatever it is, like that impacts so much more of your business. And coming back from that is so hard. So I think I always say, like, I hate that I'm so good at robbing Peter to pay Paul and managing cash flow when cash is tight, even if it shouldn't be tight. Like that's usually that's the position I find myself in with a lot of clients, is that cash flow is tight. The money's going to show up, but it's not going to show up in the time frame that you need it to show up in. And that is a miserable place to be.
What do you love most about growing a small business?
I love making connections with the people that I work with. So whether that's business owners or the event planners that I help with speaking engagements, I just love the connection element of it, and also being connected to my local community. I think that is something that I just love as well. And small business ownership has given me the opportunities to do all of that. So
What has been the biggest mindset shift for you in your small business growth journey?
success and goals are two different things. You'll never feel successful if you're only achieving goals.
Yep.
Yeah.
The number one habit you think a small business owner needs to develop and maintain?
Have a routine where you shut the office for the night. Whether, if you work in an office, try to leave work there, but have a routine every single day where you turn work off.
Are you a small business owner who is ready to take your professional growth to the next level? Sign up to the Grow a Small Business Weekly newsletter. This is your go-to email every Friday and will take about 2 minutes to read. Join the Grow a Small Business community who, like you, are investing in their professional development. Each week, we curate valuable resources, whether it's expert advice, books, podcasts, industry insights, or actionable strategies. We've got you covered. Leave your email at growsmallbusiness.com/weekly.
Now, you got to 15 full-time equivalent team members in your last business. Can you talk to how you vet people to the team, some wins, mistakes, and advice for those listening?
I would say the biggest mistake I made was trying to put people on a career path that they didn't want to be on. So I would see, for example, I would see something in someone where I thought they could be a manager or be a leader. They didn't want to do that, but I needed them to do that, or they were hired to do that. And then it turns out they didn't really want to do that. I think specifically around that point of management and leadership, trying to put people in roles that they are not that they don't want to do. I mean, they could do it, but maybe they don't want to do it. I think that's probably the biggest mistake that I made repeatedly. And also another just hiring, you never hire people to you never hired people to put out fires. I think that's also when you just kind of start throwing money at stuff and hoping it gets fixed, you usually end up with even more work on your plate. So those are the two mistakes I think I made as hiring. Best thing I ever did was I stopped fixing problems for people. That was a hard lesson for me to learn because, it might take me 10 seconds to do something, but it's going to take me 10 minutes to tell you how to do it. Just multiply that though over time. Like if you can take 10 minutes to create a process or a training document for somebody, then you don't have to do the thing again. Take the 10 minutes or even if it's 10 hours, take the 10 hours to build the thing because it's going to save you so much time over the long run. So that was finally just not fixing for people and doing every time I was asked, I got into a habit where every time I was asked a question about something, I recorded a video about how I do it. Like it didn't matter if it was responding to an email or fixing something like massive for a client. It was like, this is how you do it. That was the best thing I think I did.
What are some of the things you recommend to building a sustainable and kick-ass culture to help with the growth?
Have assessments, get a standard set of languages that everybody can use. And I like to use assessments for that because it helps you get to know people faster and get to know where everybody is. And you, as a business owner, your values have to align with your business all the time, always. So if you ever feel like your personal values and the business values are mismatched, you got to address that right away. Like you've got to make sure like whatever your values are, and it changes. I went through a massive like core values realignment. Um, and that was one of the ways I realized that Be Smart was just like way out of alignment with my core values at that point. So that's a big thing to do as well, is just make sure you're aligned with your values.
Great question for you. I'm sure you're going to have a bit to say on this. Tell our audience how you've handled balance.
It's a learning experience.
Yeah.
I so in my book I talk about this a lot. I think the first thing is you have to you got to know what you want baseline to look like for yourself. So you got to know, and I always tell people to try to figure out things that you can measure. So, sleep is something a lot of us measure with smartwatches or apps, working out, eating, those types of things. But even things like how many, t-ball games do you make it to, or how many times a week do you get to go out with your friends or, see your family, whatever it is. Like I'm always looking for things that I can actually measure. I think that is the key to maintaining balance because if we wake up every morning and there are 15 decisions that have to be made before we even sit down in the morning to work. One of those decisions, you gotta figure out like what are the self-care things that I'm going to do and how am I going to measure it? And I just from working with business owners and just knowing myself, like it has to be something I can measure because then I can make a little bit of a game out of it and that just works for me. So being able to measure the it's like having a KPIs for your
Mm.
well-being, be able to measure those things.
I love that Peter Drucker quote, what gets measured gets managed.
Oh yeah. It's the same thing. It's the same thing for your well-being.
Mm. How much professional development have you invested in yourself?
So much. I mean, official investments, I would say as an entrepreneur, I've probably invested $250,000 and then a lot of also just time listening to podcasts and stuff too. Like that's the stuff that doesn't really get tracked, but like a lot of that. But I have found as I get like older and more experienced, there is something to be said for just paying the money and getting the professional, like it's all in this one space, education. I think that I lean into that a little bit more than I used to. But yeah, I've easily spent $250,000.
And so you've had mentors or coaches along the way?
Oh yeah, yeah. I've had multiple coaches along the way, and I'm not working with a coach right now because well part of it's like I knew I've been coached so much that I like I know what I need to do. I just need to do it. Um but I have a couple of coaches that yeah, if I need to get coached, I reach out to them and we get it together. So yeah.
Do you have a board of directors or advisors, or in the last business, did you have one?
I didn't have one in the last business. I don't have a formal one right now, but I definitely have an informal one. So I don't have a structured board of advisors or board of directors, but I definitely have like there's five people that I reach out to for business advice, and they are also business owners of 15 years or more, all of them. So they've been super helpful in this business. Because this business I'm running now is not as cut and dry as my last one.
Hmm.
So it's been, I've actually needed a lot more support with this one than the last one, which is also something that kind of caught me by surprise. But you live and you learn.
All right, Julie, one of our final 5 questions. What do you think is the hardest thing in growing a small business?
Delegating sales.
Yeah, it's often one of the last hats owners take off, isn't it?
Yeah. Sometimes never, sometimes
Yeah.
never.
Favorite business book would just help you the most?
I mean, other than mine.
Yeah.
I would say, I think, I don't know. The E-Myth is a good one.
I knew you were going to say that. Yeah, it's my
The
favorite.
E-Myth, but I'll tell you what, there's also this book called The Great Game of Business.
Yep,
That's also a really good
Jack
one.
Stack. That's an amazing book, and I only heard about that 2 years ago from
Yeah.
one or two guests put me onto it, and I couldn't believe I had not read it. Written in the early '90s, and it's in my top
Yeah.
10.
Yeah. Yeah. It's some of those, the oldies but goodies.
My favorite line in there, there's so many great learnings in there, but my favorite line in there when Jack says, he's from Missouri, I think, he says, in regard to leadership, shit rolls downhill.
That's right. It sure does. It does. Yeah. I mean, it all starts with you.
Any great podcasts or online learning tools you use for your own professional development?
I really like Jay Klaus's creator. He has a creator lab, and then there's a speaker lab one that I listen to all the time because that's my new career. So and then actually Don't Write That Book is a fantastic pod. If you're interested in becoming an author, that's the podcast I needed like 5 years ago. So that is a fantastic podcast.
One tool you'd recommend to help grow a small business?
I would say a project management software like Asana right out of the gate. Just get used to using one like that because it'll help you as you get used to it, you'll be able to grow your team more quickly with it.
Finally, my favorite question. What would you tell yourself on day one of starting out 17 years ago?
I mean, it's the same lesson. It's the lesson that took me so long to learn, right? It's the success and goals aren't the same thing, and you got to define success outside of goal achievement. Because you never feel successful if you don't. And what I mean by that is like you can when you're a business owner and you're a high achiever, as soon as you hit a goal, the next day you're like, what's next? You
Yep.
don't have that time to enjoy that success. So you got to have something outside of a goal to define success by because otherwise you just never feel I mean I was in that place. I never felt successful. Like I by all ranks and by all in all regards I was and am a successful business owner, successful entrepreneur. But I never like it took me a long time to feel that way. It took me a long time to feel that.
Thanks so much for your time today, Julie. Congratulations on the growth of your first business and now this second one, starting in 2008, marketing agency, niching down in 2011 to social media marketing, getting the team up to 15 full-time equivalents, now releasing your book, Burned. Well done on your business career so far.
Thanks, Troy.
That's it. Thanks for listening. Please leave a review in iTunes or whatever platform you listen to us on. It means more small business owners will find our cast and help people with their business growth journey.